Intro us.
Yes, I'll intro us. Hi, Frank here from where do I live? Conway, Arkansas, and we have here Roundtable number
25.
53, 25.
53. Close
Round
enough.
table 25, and the lighting is fabulous in here. It makes me like a fluorescent white. I almost look translucent in this lighting. It's great. So, anyways, I'm here with Keith Parker, Ben Reed, and the associate pastor Joshua Fuentes. And so we're here today. We're gonna talk about some fall launch, fall planning, fall events, stuff like that, and kind of how we transition from the summer to the fall. A lot of us have either already been doing our back to school events or we're about to do some fall events. So that's the topic for today. And if you have any questions, make sure you get at us. Ben, how can they ask us a question?
Yeah, I mean, they can tweet YouthMin, they can post in the Facebook group, or they can use this Q&A option here on the site. So uh, Q&A goes right to us. It's going to be quickest, but yeah, do whatever. So before we get into the questions that Keith was so kind to prepare for us, tell us about your summers. Like, I know we all had crazy summers. I know I had absolutely insane summer where, Keith, I called you. We were supposed to start this like 40 minutes ago. And I was like, I'm gonna be a little bit late. Where I was running home from church, eating my lunch in the car, just going. But tell us what's been going on with you this summer.
Yeah, we've had a crazy summer as well. We're on a balanced calendar thing with our school systems, so that means our school summer is only 7 weeks long. Students out like June the 6th, and they go back July 31st. So it's quick, it's fast. We had 3 full weeks of youth programming, and then I had a couple extraneous things where I was either speaking or helping lead worship or whatever. So it's hard on family stuff, but the cool stuff is we've had like I think 10 students that have been baptized into Christ since June 1st. So it's been awesome to watch God do His thing and to build relationships with students and see some new some infant Christians born. So pretty cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'll go. This summer's been fun. We did a summer camp on a Florida missions trip, and throughout this, what we decided to do this summer is try to keep as much as we can when we are in town to do stuff, so that way any momentum we are trying to keep from the spring, it can stay over the summer. And so what we did is that we did this thing called Narrow Road Summer Nights. And summer nights are basically any Wednesday night that doesn't fall on a trip week or a VBS week. We will have a night where it's just strictly like an hour of games and an hour of Bible study. There's no worship. There's no any frills. Just like we're gonna play dodgeball for an hour or Gaga ball. It was a really really fun time first half. And then what we decided to do is go through the book of Colossians. It's kind of loosely based on Ben's package in the YouthMin store that was called, what was it called, Ben?
Colossians would have been like rescued, or no? Yeah, whatever it is.
It's in the store. I'm trying to plug it for you, but I don't remember the name either. But yeah, anyways.
I'll
It was
find it and
really
post the
good.
link.
There was one in the book of Colossians, and was it Colossians or Galatians? I don't remember now because the summer's gone so fast. But in any situation, just kind of keeping busy, and on top of that, we do this thing starting in the summer that my wife started, but it's been a tradition since we've been here, called Smoothie Thursdays, where on Thursday nights people come over to my house, and literally there's 30 students, 40 students in my house, and we're making smoothies, and we're playing video games, and we're watching movies, and we're just all hanging out, and that's strictly just a fun time to get together. And so it's been a busy summer for us. It's been a crazy, wild summer, but it's been a crazy, fun summer for us.
Real quick, it's called Resolve.
Resolve.
Just
I
getting
like it.
that on there. All right, Fuentes.
Well, I transitioned to associate pastor, so a little different, but still some big things as well too. Keith, our church is like yours, where we're kind of like on a year-round schedule, and so we pack an entire summer in like 6 weeks. So it's basically like mission trip, vacation Bible school, youth camp, kids camp, and we pack all our big stuff within almost like a 4 to 5 week thing. It's kind of interesting because I thought my summer would be less light now that I made the transition, but it actually seemed to be a lot more busier. I ended up going like 2 back-to-back mission trips, then going straight into like vacation Bible school. On top of that, we finally hired a new student pastor, and so getting him involved into the basically just saying, oh, hey, here's youth camp, and basically we hire him, and next week he goes to youth camp, and
Nice.
so it's helping him that. And so I actually still had planned out our youth summer, and so I did our new youth pastor solid by having that planned out, because nothing's worse than going into a new place and there being nothing planned. And so that's been fun, just helping him out and just kind of getting him assimilated to some of the things that are taking place and whatnot. So, I mean, it's still a very busy summer, and we're still just kind of church overall launching for fall as well, too. So, fun stuff.
Yeah. Mine's kind of opposite of you, Fuentes. And I like your new office setup. Looks more like an associate pastor.
Yeah, try.
I'm thrilled. I'm moving to a new office at some point this week. I've finally finished painting it and doing all that. So I get to be with the rest of the staff. For the first time in 10 years of youth ministry, I have an office by the pastor and the rest of the staff. Where
Nice.
I've always been on a different floor. Here I'm on a completely different end of the church. So it'll be nice. But yeah, my summer, I scheduled an already sort of busy summer where we knew we had VBS that sort of ended up taking over about 5 weeks beforehand because our coordinator had some sickness, so me and somebody else ended up having to do that about 5 or 6 weeks before it went and just crank that all out. And then the week after that, we went on to Passion Camp in Daytona Beach. So I took a page out of Nick Farr's book and sent my family away for 2 weeks so that they wouldn't be at home alone. So they went out to my in-laws' house, had a great time out there. But then right before VBS, like while we're there working 15-hour days, getting everything set up for VBS, doing all the decorating, our junior high pastor sort of transitioned out. And so it was like, all right, so no more junior high pastor, I'll step in and take that. And so had to then do that, got back from Passion Camp, went on like a 2-day vacation, went right to the junior high camp, and then that was like last week. So the last 2 months have been insane. So we haven't done a lot of new products on the store, haven't done a lot of customer service, and I haven't really felt like I've made any sort of strides discipleship-wise, just trying to keep everything afloat, but just insanely busy. But really looking forward to the school year. Our school year, our fall launch, we were doing a neon night. We're renting the big blacklight LEDs, filling our gym with those, doing blacklight dodgeball, blacklight 9 square in the air, talking about being light of the world, just a few things like that. It's hopefully going to be bringing in a lot of students. It's nice that I'm able to sort of split the cost because now that I oversee senior high and high school, we get to do those on the same week and take half of it out of each budget. So that works. But yeah, what do you guys do? Top question right now that's being asked is by LifePoint Student Ministries. For those doing a big kickoff event, what's your strategy for retaining new visitors? How are you, or how do you keep the momentum and translate that into discipleship when you use a fun event to bring them in?
Mm-hmm.
Who's got thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can speak to that for a minute. So yeah, something that we do for our fall launch is we actually combine a big fun event like a cookout. This year we did the old slip and slide kickball because that's what all the cool youth pastors are doing.
Like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. Hey, here's the way I look at it. I let all the youth ministers try it and hurt children, and then I learned from their mistakes. It was awesome.
Yeah. But hey, let's just be real quick. Josh Griffin and HSM, they did that at summer camp like 5 years ago, and then everyone else has been copying it since then. I mean, we did it back in June before the video went big, but it's not this group doing it for the first time. It's not anything new. We all know that, but
yeah,
just getting that out of the way.
Yeah. So yeah, we did a big kickoff event where it was a pool party, a cookout. The slip and slide kickball was kind of a big draw. But in the midst of that, in between like all those fun activities, we pull everybody together and we give them kind of a brief view of who we are and what we do. And then we actually introduce them to our life groups leaders, and all of our life groups leaders are there, and we break them off and let them kind of interact and get to know them a little bit. So that it kind of builds a little bit of relational connection to say, hey, next Sunday, like we start life groups up, and this is what that'll look like, and here's the people you're going to be hanging out with.
Yeah.
So we can kind of dovetail those things together, I think.
Yeah. Who else got an answer?
At least in our context, what we're doing is we for the past 2 years we've teamed up with like 6 or 7 other youth groups to do a really big back to school event. And so in our church we do a small back to school event that kind of enters into the fall for the church, and that's just more of like a time where there's gonna be a bunch of games. We eat pizza and watermelon, and we just kind of hang out and family. It's more of a family thing, where anybody in our church, not just people with kids, but anybody in our church could attend to. And then actually this Wednesday we're doing a big back to school event where we have a band coming in, and out of the 6 or 8 youth groups, one of those youth pastors are going to be preaching, and then yeah, and so the kind of the philosophy is. It's like a citywide thing where we want everyone to bring their friend to, and the challenge is that whoever invited you that next week go to their church, and so then the thrust is on the kid to not just invite them to the big event, but invite them to their normal Wednesday night event, and
Yeah.
then through that process they get plugged into the youth group and to small groups and discipleship and things like that. So that's kind of what we've been doing for 2 years now. And all those events, we'll see a small group add, a small number add, and in that they'll stick it out through they're still here since then. And so we've done it. It's probably not the most pragmatic, but it's definitely the best in terms of we can put on a giant event that's going to have the feel of like camp, 500, 600 kids or whatever, and then and it still be somewhat affordable for all the youth groups, and even invite some of the smaller youth groups to come in, so that way they can be a part of it. So it's a good time.
There we go. Yeah,
We kind of do.
Yeah.
So I'd say we're kind of like that too, Frank. We've always had some sort of like get together with all the youth groups around the area to kind of get some event planned out. Maybe sometimes I think you have a good opportunity where you can somehow do like a closing summer event, and so just to say, hey, this summer has finally ended, and we can kick off that way, and then use that kind of as a momentum to propel into kind of like a little kind of bigger fall kickoff and whatnot. And so we've always had that time where we've worked together with some other youth pastors strategically to just kind of let's get together as a group. Maybe it's our end of the summer kickoff basically, or end off, I guess, however you want to call it, where we'll get together, or we'll do these opposite where we'll do our own little thing how we end the summer, and then we'll kind of launch together as like one big youth group just to kind of help out with hey, let's split the costs, let's kind of get more people involved, let's get everyone here to just kind of just have a really awesome time.
Yeah,
that's good.
I would say real quick, where my dad, very fortunate, he's actually one of the national directors for Man in the Mirror Ministries, and one of their big things that when they have it's something that men's ministries around the country sort of fail to do. Well, they'll have a men's breakfast that brings in 1 or 2 visitors, but then there's nothing for them. That Man in the Mirror really believes you got to have your drawing in event, but you have to have planned what you're going to do with them like the next day or that week. Give them something to come back to instantly where you know what the next step is. And so knowing that advice this year kind of stinks where just the nature, we're moving to Sunday nights, and so there's some hiccups there, and our September is going to be so choppy where we're having this big back-to-school kickoff, invite your friends type night on August 30th, and then August 6th is right before Labor Day, so we're not going to be doing anything really big then. We have it the 13th, and then the 20th is our church's 30th anniversary, so everything's shut down for a big celebration there. So we get it the 30th, 13th, the 27th, and then we start. So it's real choppy, but we're looking for something to do on that 6th where, my admin assistant lives right on the lake, has an awesome house with plenty of swimming area. We have people with pools, so we're trying to find something that, even if it's not necessarily discipleship-based, it's something to invite our visitors back to that week. So that would be my big piece of advice, is know what you're going to do with them that week, anyone that shows up, and that'll keep momentum going. And then we had some other good questions. Michael Maskmeyer, I'm ruining that. In what way, especially during the back-to-school season, what ways do you connect your ministry to the schools in your area?
Good thought.
While you guys think, I'll say that's one I'm always terrible at, where we were in Boston for a long time and couldn't do anything to partner with schools there. Here we're just still sort of trying to get that involved, but we actually reached schools in northeastern Illinois and southeastern Wisconsin. So we've got a big reach, and we're still recruiting adult leaders, where I took over for somebody who didn't have any adult leaders. So trying to have one small group leader who like owns each campus, that they're going to go to football games, they're going to go to basketball games, all that. And that's something we're aiming to do during the back to school. There's a lot of ideas. Again, HSM and Josh Griffin, they had their student leaders do that post-it note challenge. I love that idea. I'd love to incorporate that. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys?
Yeah.
And,
Go on, Frank.
all right.
So first, you go, Frank.
And I'm really lucky. We only have one high school in our city. We're a city of about 60,000, and so there's only one high school, and it's bursting at the brim, but it's working. And so, but with that being said, the schools in our town are actually kind of closed off towards churches. I could talk about that story another day, but several years ago there was an issue, and then they were like, no more youth pastors, and then they were like, okay, here are some boundaries. And so one of the boundaries they have is I can show up during lunch one day a week that doesn't conflict with another church. So if Second Baptist wants to come on Monday, I can't come on Monday. I have to come on Tuesday. And so they have these really weird rules regarding that. And even then, though, I can only come into like the front of the school. I can't go in the lunchroom. And in the middle schools and the junior high schools, it's even more stricter, where like I can only go to a classroom, and the parent has to have a signed permission slip to meet with me. So I can't even. So if they want to bring a friend, they can't even do that. And so it's really kind of difficult there. One thing that I'm excited about that I want to try to do is, if I can, at least with the Christian school. If not, I'm going to try to do it with the public school too. Is to do a what's it called? What is that thing you do when you bring food before a game? A tailgate. Do a tailgate. Yeah. I forgot the name of it for a second. And just kind of give away cheeseburgers and hot dogs to kids before football games. Like, it's just a proven fact. Like, I did this at the high school here. When I showed up on Tuesday, I just said, hey, I'm going to be here. I have 20 pizzas. Tell anybody you want to come visit me to visit me. And they'll bring droves of friends for free food that's not their packed lunch or their school lunch. And the same thing true. If they can get free food for a football game, they'll come to that. And so I feel like, that's one of my goals, is to kind of, I don't know if it's team up with the school, if not teaming up with the ability to do a tailgate and say, I'm here because I have kids on the team, I have kids in the school, and I want to give out, 100 cheeseburgers, and when I run out, I'll just, talk to people.
Yeah, I would say real quick with that, we tried to do that in Boston, and some struggles you might run into is if they have that whole like boosters club.
Right.
They'll do that as a fundraiser where they sell hot dogs, so they get real ticked when you give away hot dogs for free. So you just got to be careful of that stuff.
Yeah.
Undercutting the competition.
In the name of Jesus.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think Frank hit something really important about school involvement, is that it's always going to depend on context. I live in a city where there's 5 high schools. And so being able to somehow get to all 5 is almost impossible to do. And then, you also have those levels where one school may be open and one school may not be open. And, and then on the top is that maybe if you're in a smaller town, you just have a lot easier access to get to that one school. Mm-hmm. And so, I bring that up so to say, if you can't get involved in your school, don't feel bad, okay? Because I know there's this feeling of like, I need to get involved in school, and it seems like nothing's happening, and then you feel like a failure. It's like, well, no, it's not your fault. It's just the dynamic of how things work. Probably one of the best things you can always do is just call the principal, say I'd like a meeting, and just say, introduce yourself, bring like a $25 gift card to something, because they love gifts. Like, seriously, just take a gift and just say, hey, this is who I am. I'd like to know just what I can do here. If you need anything, you can call me. If not, that's fine. I'm just introducing myself. I know I've heard of youth pastors who try to get in to be their like athletic chaplain. So there's some school sports who don't have chaplains, and so you just call up the athletic director and say, hey, you don't have a chaplain, I'd like to pray with your football team, your volleyball team. Don't just stick to football, okay? Football's amazing, but remember, there's other teams out there too. And so get involved in some of those ways to see if they'll be willing to take a chaplain on. And that's a free access into the locker room that a lot of people don't have. So just think of it that way.
It's great.
Yeah. the guy who asked this question just says that they're doing some things this year, something kind of cool. Gatorade drops. I'd love more information on that. Just showing up for lunch, and then color nights at the football games. Okay, Michael, I'm not going to try your last name again, M. Would you post more information about that in our YouthMin Facebook community? Because like the color nights at the football game sounds cool, but I'd love to know what does that look like in your context and all that. So share that with us. And then Keith, did you have answers for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the involvement with the school is huge. As Josh said, it's all about context. So we draw from a ton of high schools. I can't get to all of them, so we kind of hone in on the big one that we draw the most students from, and that's kind of where we base our best efforts. And we are very welcome in the schools. They see us as a partner. They invite us in. I mean, they will ask me, like, hey, don't you have some summer stuff coming up that we could, like, pass out postcards for you? I mean, they beg me to bring stuff in and hand it out. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter for me of making it a priority with all the other things that are happening in ministry to say, all right, we're getting back into school. They're getting back in the routine. I need to go and take an hour out of my day to go hang out and have lunch. Like, it's so easy to sit here and go, man, I got this task list of stuff I have to get done, and to just, like, not do it. But to just take that effort and to do whatever you can. And just to add to what Josh said, I've been here 14 years. I've been through 6 superintendents at our main high school here. It's kind of a stepping stone school that guys come in, they're superintendent for 2 years and they leave. And so every time there's a new superintendent, I set up a meeting, I walk into their office, I introduce myself, and I always try to share with them, like, I want to be a resource, we're on the same team, we want the same things, how can we partner together? And it's always been well received. So if you have an opportunity to do that, man, just go share your heart with them, and I think they'll probably hear it. So anyway, that was kind of an aside. Love you.
So we got a few more questions, but let's go to one of the ones that Keith has sort of prepared out, because I like this top one. How do you make the transition from summer trips to weekly activities? Where that can be a bit of a sort of challenge where, I mean, I know for me, I'm a big planner, and so, like, right now we take the next 2-3 weeks off Sunday school before launch to give me time where I'm not having to write weekly messages still, so I can try and lay out the next year, because we've got a really intensive program where we have our Wednesday night, or which is now Sunday night high school, Tuesday night junior high, which we are going to be using XP3 middle school for, just because it's too much to write my own curriculum for all of this. Because then on Sunday mornings, we do a middle school class, which is going to be going through the Old Testament survey for an entire year, spending basically a week in each book, as well as a few intros for the sections of them. And then they'll do New Testament next year. 8th graders it's kind of like a non-denominational version of confirmation, but it's just, we're going through Wayne Grudem's systematic theology over the next 35 weeks. Wow. And so writing a curriculum for that. And that's something that they've been doing here for 12 or 15 years. But there's not an actual printed curriculum, it's just the book. So I'm trying to make more worksheets and make it more like a college-level class in a sense. And then high schoolers, we repeat sort of that cycle from middle school where we're going through Old Testament survey, New Testament survey, the 2 books from Fuller Youth Institute of Can I Ask That 1 and 2, and then Experiencing God student edition. So I got to write a lot of those lessons beforehand because I don't teach any of those classes. I don't lead any small groups, and so I like to give my leaders at least a month's worth of stuff at a time. So that transition, I need a break from sort of the weekly tasks in order to get done. And then instead I end up going and using my lunch hour to do a youth ministry roundtable with you all.
Yeah.
So we're all grateful Ben is here.
Yeah, you can give me a $25 gift card, Fuentes.
Something we've found success with in terms of making that transition, it is kind of a screeching halt. I mean, the summer builds relationships. You're doing these trips, these like powerful weeks of CIY or whatever it might be. And then you get into the hard work of discipleship and the weekly programming, and the weekly everything else. So something we've kind of done is kind of taken a cue from Apple. You know, Apple will all the time, they'll say like, all right, here we go. The 6S is coming out, and we're going to have a keynote September, whatever. And then on that date, like, I mean, they tell you what it's about. You go to their website's all about it. Like, everything is ready to launch on that day. And so we kind of do that to make a big announcement, a big deal about our fall kicking off. So we had, like, yesterday we had a big parent information meeting where I had, okay, for the next 6 months, here's everything we're doing. Here's our new app that we just built. Here's all the stuff that you need to know about HCCYM and why we exist for the next 6 months. And so it becomes kind of a, like, wow, like there's an event happening, like there's something big going down. And that kind of helps to get them in the zone of like, oh, okay, we're back in the flow of things.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Thanks.
Who else? I'm waiting for somebody else to talk.
Well,
I guess I'll say something.
Go, Frank.
All right. I mean, yeah. In our context, like, this is our we've just kind of set this date, like, when, like, around like the end of May, we stop doing what we call midweek, and the kids understand, like, that means no more worship music, no more like, there's different elements during our main service that just end, and then our summer services are going to be kind of sporadic and different in that regard. And then we try to, I mean, kind of like what Keith said, we hype up the midweek because we want to get people excited to come back in the fall. And so last Wednesday actually was, I would call it a soft start, I guess if you want, or a soft build. A soft launch. There we go. A soft launch of what we call midweek, because I'm trying to find these words here. Resolve was the name of the curriculum. No, we do a soft launch, and then this Wednesday is going to be like the big, like, back to school thing. And like, I have no shame. I'll plug my youth group in front of 500 kids of other youth groups and be like, I have nothing going on Wednesday. No, I'm not a jerk like that. But you know, like, this is how we get our kids excited. And one thing we're trying to do is to really have all of our students think citywide here. Like, yes, you are a particular body in this context, but we all belong to a grand, you know, if you were a larger youth group or really a larger church. And so everyone kind of understands that, and they understand that the transition is going to be starkly different. But because it's so different from what goes on to the summer to what goes on the fall, kids are ready and excited for the fall. And so I'm sure maybe in your context, if you build it up correctly, if you make such a distinct difference between what happens in the summer and what happens in the fall, they're like, finally, let's have this, because it's been so long. And so that's what's in our community.
Yeah. Hey, real quick,
that's
Mike,
why
what T-shirt you're wearing. Can you stand up and model that off?
What?
Your T-shirt. I just realized what T-shirt you're wearing.
Yeah.
Stand up and show that off.
This is all you get to see.
Why is
I get a bunch of, like, awesome comments and rebuke because of the show all the time. People always say, why do you put Jesus on the bottom? He should be on the top. And I'm like, that's not the point of the shirt, but whatever. You know.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of awesome comments on the shirt, but also a lot of hate because of the shirt. And I love it. I love the
You know
shirt.
who else got a lot of awesome comments and a lot of hate? Jesus.
What? Nice.
All right, boys.
Nice.
You know, I was just going to say, you know, that's, I think, for transitioning purposes, I think that's why it's so important to have some type of in-summer closure type deal. And so why you really should have an event that summer is ended. So it really does let everyone realize, oh, yeah, summer's over now. We're getting back into normal routines. And so when you have that closure, it kind of helps you out when you do make the transition, because it's really hard to just kind of have these big giant events and then all of a sudden you just have this big drop, you know, and you're like, well, what just happened? Well, that's why you do have that big final event to just say, everyone, hey, this summer was fantastic. We did this happened. People came to Christ. We baptized. Camp was great. You know, we're doing this big old blowout just to celebrate just, you know, Christ and just how he has moved in our lives. And then we're saying, let's move on to fall now. And so sometimes you got to build in those little things in there that I don't think people really think about, but just that just give everyone the signal to saying, this is done, now we're starting something new. And that's kind of how you kind of get through those transitions a bit there.
Yeah. No,
Cool.
I completely agree with that. Ours is fairly similar, but I think next year we might look for more ways to interchange it. So next question. What groups do you seek to engage with your fall launch, and how do you reach out to them? Keith, you had some more thoughts on this if you want to explain a bit more.
Yeah, we have found that engaging the parents is a huge part of this. So yeah, we do like we've done in the past like a family fall kickoff where we have the entire family come out and do a big cookout and a whole thing together. And then we can talk to the students and the parents at the same time. This year we kind of split those up, but we still make sure that parents know, like, man, this is a big deal. Like, you need to be here for this information. This is important. And so we hype it. Our senior minister mentioned it from the pulpit. Like, it gets a lot of press as a big part of what we're doing. So, yeah, I think, the parents, the students are obvious. I mean, you want them to get involved. But when you can get the parents on board and you show them, like, here's how we're going to be a resource for you and your family, like, man, they will jump on board and really push that with their kids. So.
Yeah.
So
kind of wraps that one up. So we're gonna ask one more question, and then hey, I think it's Chase Tibbs. You would ask the question. Let's make sure. Oh, Chase Crawford. How are you working with parents at the start of fall? I'm gonna hold on to that question. We're gonna do the roundtable next week, all about that topic of partnering with parents to start the new school year off. So before we wrap up. Let's go back to that question of what is something that you have learned that just does not work for your fall launch, and then coincide with that, what has been your most successful fall launch event ever? So, who wants to go first? My most successful fall launch event ever. I'm trying to come up with a big joke, but I guess sort of a serious one. We did this with the Walking Dead sermon series that's in the store. Shameless promotion. We have a zombie game that goes with it that we made that our students loved. We had played it like once during the summer as we sort of figured it out, and so then we put it off for 2 or 3 months, and then we promoted this big thing of like, all right, first night of youth group, we're all going to go to the local high school football game to just love on them. That we had not a lot of students from that school, but they were like quarter mile from our church. So let's just go there, be loud, be ruckus, and be like a crowd that people will take notice of. After that, we're going to go have a fifth quarter and play this zombie game. And our students loved that. It was memorable. Had a lot of new students come in. So it wasn't the most successful, but it's the one that came to mind. And then things that I've learned that don't work for our fall launch is spending our whole budget on it. That's it. So.
I think for me, I know this may sound a little weird, but I always feel like I have a very successful fall launch when I've gotten my teachers trained. So when I've gotten my small group leaders, trained up and know what they're doing, because, the whole point of the fall launch is to get kids plugged into a small group and get them plugged into a place where they're going to experience community, where they're going to grow in learning the Bible, and where they're going to grow in a relationship with each other. And so I always feel really comfortable with like my fall is when I've taken time to actually meet with my teachers and actually let them know what they are doing and what their responsibilities are and how that's going. And I think within all that, with that said, that's probably one of the easiest groups to forget about when you're doing a big launch and everything, because it's always students, it's always parents, that's the big job. But sometimes we can really forget about our own workers and the people who are actually in the trenches of the ministry and are actually taking the time to meet with these kids one-on-one and just be over like a particular school, or just just making that discipling process. And so so I always felt less confident about my fall when I just was kind of scrapping teachers together and just kind of like, oh, here, you got a class, there you go. And I just never felt good about that. But when I ever had the chance to get teachers, retain them, equip them, and send them out, that's when I always felt the fall was going to be a good one, because I had a chance to really get the adults who are going to be pouring into these students and parents' lives.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, students are resilient. So, like, whether you are super prepared and have 6 months planned out, or whether they just know that you're going to show up next Wednesday, they are resilient. I think kind of Josh kind of touched on it, but I would even expand even further. When I know my parents and my students are comfortable with, they know exactly what the fall is going to look like. That's a good fall launch in terms of you feel like you've done your job because your parents can put it on the calendar early enough to know, compared to their sports games, their vacation time, they have all the information. That's helpful. And then your leaders are also planning with their own families and their own time that they got that going on. But man, what you said about not spending your entire budget, that's huge. Save your money to give out scholarships for summer camp and mission trips and winter retreat and stuff like that. Like, don't, like, your fall launch, I think, to me, the end purpose is to get kids excited about the fall and to give out tons of information. If you have Tim Tebow as your guest speaker with For Him as your worship band, it's irrelevant. Let's get just the bare essentials that you need to make it well, and don't blow your entire budget. I think that's one thing that why we like what we're doing with all the youth groups coming together is before this, youth groups were blowing $2,000-$3,000 for their fall budget, and now we've kind of figured it out where we can just everyone chip in a couple $100, and it's a massive event, and everyone walks away super super happy. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll say.
So Frank, you were saying that was Tim Tebow and For Him. I'm just writing this down.
For Him is a really top worship band. They've been around for like a couple years now, like 25 years. They're great.
Is that like the number 4? I just want to make sure I get
The
that.
number 4, him. Look them up. You'll love them.
Yeah.
They're huge in Indiana. I'm sure they are.
See, I don't feel bad because we're more on our budget on Russell Wilson and Switchfoot, so totally different.
I think the Seattle Seahawks already blew their entire budget on Russell Wilson. Anyway.
He's 12% of the entire salary cap. That's a steal.
I love it. Sorry, I just knew that would rile you up, so I thought I'd go for it.
Yeah, wait till Luck comes in at like 35%.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be bad. I can't wait.
Cut.
We'll have to pay an extra 5% for the neck beard.
Yeah, the Indianapolis Colts are like the youth pastor right now buying 500 inflatables for 10 kids. So.
Yep.
All right. There's no one watching us right now. We've done this conversation.
No, we have a good amount of viewers.
I just want to I want to echo what Frank said, man. I feel like we've had a successful launch when parents are on board with the vision of where you're headed. Man, if they walk away and they are like, man, this is going to be awesome. I know what they're going to be teaching. I know what they're going to be doing. I know how my kid can be involved. I know how this can be a resource for my family so I can have spiritual conversations. Like, when a parent buys into that, like, man, because you've just taken your youth ministry and you've like exponentially grown its impact because now the parents in the home are on board with you. They're your ally. You're their ally. Like, we're on the same team working together.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I'd add to that, and again, we're going to talk far more in depth about this next Monday at 3:30 Eastern, so tune in then. I'm writing a blog post about it that I think the best way to recruit volunteers is have a parents meeting. I realized that last week after our junior high preview night that I've never had a parents meeting and not had 2 or 3 parents come up and say, hey, I'd love to get connected. Do you need any help? Where that always brings in people who are going to be great leaders. So that's going to be it for today. There's something else I felt like I was going to wrap up. Just tune in next week. It's going to be a good thing. Frank Gill has some huge news to reveal. And
Huge.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about parents and student ministry in the fall, and that's some of my favorite topics. So tune in. Thank you all for watching today, and I hope you have a great week. God bless.